Did you seriously think you could build a new version of me from someone else's DNA?
Just as things were heating up between me and Maeve, the blare of a horn cut through the moment. I glanced at the clock. 2:30 p.m. Sharp. Of course, I muttered under my breath. Maeve laughed, already knowing it was Frank, right on schedule for our yearly hunting trip. I had ducked out of work early, intending to just stop by, but a quick goodbye had turned into a passionate encore. As Frank honked again, I threw him a finger-point gesture signaling just a sec and rushed back inside. Maeve, dressed in nothing but a sheer slip, smiled wickedly as she helped me into my coat. She kissed me one last time at the door, then shyly peeked out after me, keeping modest for the neighbors. Frank's truck was fully packed and ready to roll. We hit the road, and about 20 minutes in, he wrinkled his nose and gave me a sideways glance. "You stink," I smirked. "Sweat? Not your brand," he replied, grinning. We laughed, but beneath the humor was something unspoken. We both knew what he meant, and it lingered in the air. The drive ended at his family's cabin in the woods, a mix of rustic charm and modern updates with just enough tech to stay connected, minus the distractions of cell reception. After dinner, I kicked back with a book while Frank idly surfed the web on his laptop. Then he stiffened. "No way! What is it?" Without a word, he turned the screen toward me. My heart dropped. Maeve's face lit up the hookup site page. Same smile I'd captured in a photo now being used for her profile. The username read, "Lonely Little Girl." Another image followed, one I didn't recognize, though she wore the lingerie I had bought her. Frank tried to downplay it, suggesting the photos could have been taken or used without her permission. I wanted to believe him, but then I saw the bio. Home alone this weekend, looking for clean, discreet fun. The profile status? Closing soon. Then it got worse. An invitation to join a chat room. Franklin's free. Frank's face drained of color. "That was my old screen name," he said, already clicking the link. The chat opened. Messages poured in. Vulgar, bold, and disturbingly real. Some were from strangers. Some clearly got replies. One stood out. "Had a great time last month. Let me know when you're free again. Daddy 20. Maeve had responded, "There's always space. Just give me a heads up." I felt sick. This wasn't an impulsive mistake. She'd done it before, maybe more than once. I turned to Frank. "Is she doing this for money?" He shook his head. "Nope. Nothing transactional. Just the thrill." I kept scrolling, finding more messages. Teasing, flirty, shameless. "I thought this would get you out of my system, but looks like I need another dose," she wrote in one. "She didn't just cheat," I said quietly. "She planned this weekend." Frank was composed. "These types of sites are usually for spontaneous hookups. It's not like setting a date on a calendar." "Then bait her," I said. "Message her. See if she bites." He hesitated. "She's after a specific kind of guy and a certain type of pick." I went quiet. Then it hit me. "She's looking for me." I told Frank I could send a picture myself, maybe even throw in a veiled threat. He cut that idea off quickly. "No warnings," he said. "She'll scrub everything clean. It'll all vanish." He spoke from experience. His ex-wife had kept her affair hidden for months before getting caught. He wasn't about to let that happen again. "We're leaving now," he said firmly. "We need to catch her before she figures out how to lie her way out of this." The drive back was tense. We planned for everything: confrontation, proof, what to say. At 10:45 p.m., we pulled onto my street. I spotted a strange car outside my house. "Keep driving," I told Frank. "Park around the corner." He nodded. "That car's not from around here." "I've got this," I said, reaching for the door. "No way," he replied. "I'm in this with you." "If she's alone, this proves nothing," I said. "But I need to see for myself." He nodded again. "Then we stick to the plan." We took the alley, everything quiet. I prayed Maeve forgot to lock the back gate. She had. We slipped in, sticking to shadows. A soft light glowed behind the bedroom curtains. No sounds, no movement. We crept closer. I found a gap in the curtain just big enough to peek through. And I looked. I spotted them through the crack. Maeve and another man. In our bed. He looked older, maybe mid-50s, with curly black hair and a build not unlike mine. For a moment, it was like staring at some future version of myself. Anger surged. I reached for the multi-tool on my belt, but Frank caught my wrist before I could move. He shook his head, urging me to back off. I resisted. We wrestled briefly before he let go and walked off. I followed, fists clenched, heart pounding. Back in the truck, I glanced toward the locked bed where Frank kept his hunting rifles. He didn't acknowledge it, just started the engine and drove off. "We've been here too long," he said, pulling into an empty grocery store parking lot. I looked at him. "Why not just go back and burn it all down?" "Because then you go to prison," he replied calmly. "She invited him. Doubt he even knows she's married." I stared out the window, forcing myself to breathe. Right. Stay sharp. Think long term. Back at Frank's, the first thing he did was lock up every tool. Then he poured 2 stiff shots of tequila. We drank in silence. "She's cheating," he finally said, "with a guy who kind of looks like you. Maybe she's chasing something from the past, or trying to feel something familiar." "We had closeness yesterday," I snapped. "It's not like we're distant." He smirked. "Yeah, I could smell that." Later, Frank floated a wild idea. Open marriage, mutual freedom. I gave him a hard no, not happening. We drank until we passed out. The next morning, hungover but focused, I started executing a plan. We still had 2 days before we were supposed to be back. Frank insisted I use that time wisely. Step 1, I rented a basic sedan. Then I opened a new bank account and moved more than half my savings. Enough to keep the bills running, but protect myself financially. I skipped updating work info. No need to raise questions just yet. At the phone store, I bought a dual SIM phone and activated a new number tied to the new bank account. I left our shared plan untouched. No red flags for Maeve. The clerk must have noticed my blank stare. "You okay, sir?" "Just bad news," I said quietly. With the phone ready, I met Frank at Starbucks. Over coffee, we finalized next steps. Then we headed back toward my neighborhood. Maeve's car and the other guys were gone. Frank circled to the alley while I slipped through the still unlocked backyard gate. Normally, I'd complain about her carelessness. Today, I was grateful. I avoided the front door. No need to be seen. Frank waited nearby, watching the usual path Maeve and I took on walks, just in case she returned early. Inside, I grabbed an old duffel from the attic, then hit the safe for my passport, social security card, and key documents. I took half the cash. The gold coins stayed put, for now. In the bedroom, I picked a few outfits, just enough to avoid suspicion. Then came the hard part, surveillance. At Starbucks, we'd configured a time-lapse camera on my new phone, set to auto-upload to the cloud. I hid it behind hats on a shelf, aimed squarely at the bed. No sound, just images. Before leaving, I nudged the curtain open, same spot Frank peeked through last night. He didn't know I was going this far. He wouldn't approve. Back in the living room, I placed a trail cam above the bookshelf, covering the front door and couch. It stored footage on an SD card, which I'd retrieve later. The bedroom camera would auto-back up every 6 hours to save battery and avoid alerts. In and out in under 30 minutes. Frank relaxed when he saw me returning. 25 minutes later, we were at his place again, picking at KFC under dim lights, surrounded by scribbled notes. I wasn't hungry. Frank slipped some whiskey into my Coke, which helped more than the fries. "You need to text her," he said. "Pretend everything's normal." I froze. "What do I even say? Hope your hookup went well?" Frank rolled his eyes. "Just send the usual." "Okay, not this flirty stuff. How about, 'Hey babe, made it. Weather's good. Hitting the trail tomorrow. Love you.' Then another. 'Feels like a lucky day. We'll check in soon.'" He looked up. "Next, we call your lawyer. And maybe yours," I added. Frank nodded. His lawyer, Kelly David, had gotten him through a messy divorce. Smart, tough, and effective. He grinned. Tracy hated her. Couldn't stand that my lawyer was younger, sharper, and hotter. I wasn't ready for any of that. Not yet. But I was getting there. Frank made the call. On speaker, a confident woman's voice came through. "This is Kelly DeWitt," she said. "Frank didn't give me your last name, but I understand it's been a rough week." "You could say that," I replied. She chuckled gently. "Well, better to vent with your lawyer than someone less helpful." Frank had warned me. She didn't sugarcoat anything. "Do I need representation?" I asked. "Would you take the case?" "Depends. Are you thinking of staying with your wife?" "Counseling." "No, I'm done." "Then yes. If you want to pursue a fault-based divorce and leverage her infidelity in court, you'll need someone." "Can you represent me?" "Frank said you're good." "He also mentioned my rates?" I hesitated. "Don't worry. I'll honor what I charged him." We set a meeting for Monday morning. "Bring any evidence," she said. "I've got screenshots of her dating profile before it disappeared. We also saw her with someone twice. I set up cameras." There was a pause. "What kind of cameras?" Frank jumped in. No audio, just a trail cam in the living room and time-lapse video in the bedroom, all in his house. Good, she said. Audio's tricky. Video's more defensible, though her lawyer may argue privacy, especially in the bedroom. She didn't exactly try to hide it, I added. Her profile was clear. No love mentioned, but the intent was obvious. Targeting guys like you? Kelly asked. Yeah, weirdly specific. She paused again. Matt, any health issues? Physical performance? I blinked. 6 feet, 180. I run and lift. I'm fine. Got it. Once we hang up, I'll send you a secure link. Upload everything. Screenshots, images, videos. Frank can help. Got it. Monday at 11? Perfect. And one last thing. Stay away from her. I don't handle criminal defense. Understood. After uploading the files, Frank checked my old phone. Maeve had replied to my fake check-ins like nothing was wrong. Miss you. Hope the hunt's going well. Love you. Her sweetness made me sick. Frank sent another message from my phone. Typical stuff we'd normally send during trips. Then he shut the phone off. Turn it on later, he said. Make it look like it got delayed from bad signal. Without him, I would have screwed that up. I wish I had this kind of evidence, he muttered. His ex had cheated for nearly a year before he found out. By then, he was stuck paying her mortgage and alimony. I wasn't about to fund Maeve's new life. Following Frank's advice, I locked down finances. I changed passwords, updated contact info, and opened a new account. I canceled 2 joint credit cards and cut the limit on the one she used. 6 hours after planning the phone, it uploaded the first batch of images. I nearly lost it. The first few were harmless. Then she walked in, with a man. 15 minutes later, they were in bed. Afterward, she changed the sheets. Same thing happened again, with different men. One looked like my brother, another, my uncle. 10 sets of images, half with strangers, all burned into my brain. Frank flipped through the shots beside me. Is that her? Yes. I could barely breathe. I need air. I'll take you out. No, I need to be alone. Scream, cry, whatever. Just not in front of anyone. He gave me a long look. Just don't do anything dumb. Getting arrested won't help. I won't. I just need space. He agreed to send the files to Kelly. As I left, he reminded me to turn my phone back on, for Maeve and for him. I thanked him and left. I stuck to the highway, as promised. But instead of heading far, I drove just 30 minutes north, crying and screaming the whole way. Once darkness fell, I turned back. The grocery store lot was still busy, so I parked there and walked to my neighborhood. 2 blocks down 2nd Street, around the corner onto Elm, then halfway to 3rd Street, and into the alley behind my house. The trash bins had been moved. The back gate was locked this time, but the fence was only 6.5 feet. I checked for neighbors, then climbed over in seconds. Following our old path, I crept to the window with the curtain gap I'd made earlier. The last photos had shown a clean bed. Maeve was between guests, not anymore. Through the slit, I saw her with another man, kissing this time. But this one felt different, younger, maybe 20. Or was I looking at my younger self? He looked like me in college. Lean, athletic, short dark curls. My stomach twisted. I started recording with my phone. Then I noticed he was wearing military camo. Not for hunting. It looked like army fatigues. Her young soldier, I muttered. He might have come from the nearby National Guard base, same place my dad once served. And now he was in my house with my wife dressed like some kind of hero. I'd had enough. I stepped onto the back porch ready to storm in. My phone buzzed. Text alert. I ignored it. Then it vibrated again. Frank calling. I looked at the screen. I declined the call. I nearly jumped out of my skin when a voice cut through the dark behind me. I see you, jackass. I spun around. Frank was peering over the fence, eyes sharp. Get out of here, he hissed, or I'll lay on the horn. I backed off, stumbling more than I wanted. Drawing attention in this neighborhood full of retirees meant a guaranteed visit from the cops. What the heck are you doing here? I whispered. Same as you, he snapped. She's in there with some punk in uniform. My dad took shrapnel for this country, and this clown wears camo to seduce your wife? No way in hell. I was livid. Frank, leave. Now, or I'll call the cops myself. A-hole. There were old railroad ties stacked near the fence. I used them to climb up and drop into the bed of Frank's truck with a loud thud. A couple of porch lights flicked on across the street. We didn't wait. Frank climbed in and pulled away slowly, headlights off until we were clear. A few minutes later, we sat in a booth at a dive bar on Tompkins Parkway, a few blocks from home. Frank poured me a shot of Beam and pushed a beer into my hand before letting me speak. "I'm done," I muttered. "I can't ever sleep in that house again. But I sure as heck won't keep letting this happen." "Then let's end it," he said plainly. I blinked. "What?" "Give me your phone." He scrolled straight to Maeve's contact and hit the call button. Speaker on. She answered on the 5th ring, a little breathless. "Matt? Oh, wow. Didn't expect a call. Missed me already?" "It's Frank," he cut in. There was a beat. "Why are you calling me from Matt's phone? Is he okay?" "He's not great. Got a little banged up. Maybe I'll bring him home tonight." "Oh my God, what happened? Can I talk to him?" "Easy, Maeve." He hit his head. Nothing serious, I think. We got a rare signal up here, so I figured I'd let you know. Can I speak to him now? He's asleep. Knocked himself on a branch in the dark. Laid down with an ice pack and passed out. Do you think it's a concussion? That's what I'm watching for. If anything's off, I'll take him to the hospital in White River. Should I come there? No. No need. Frank gently muted the mic and whispered, "Stalling tactic. She's panicking." He unmuted and said, "Anyway, we'll check in tomorrow." Then he ended the call. "Well," Frank said, "we finally disrupted the circus for the first time in 24 hours. I let out a hollow laugh. As we left the bar and walked toward my house, Frank said, "I still think she loves you." I was about to snap at him, but he held up a hand. "I know it doesn't look like it, but maybe she just broke something inside herself." He'd passed by my house earlier and noticed no cars out front. He figured, aside from the first guy, Maeve had told the rest to park at the grocery store to avoid suspicion. "How thoughtful of her," I muttered. Then we saw someone coming down the sidewalk. A young man in military camo walking under a street lamp. Frank stepped between us as we passed. "Evening," he said. The guy muttered a half response, clearly annoyed. Frank called after him, "Hey, how's little girl doing?" The guy stopped, slowly turned. "Little girl? I don't know what you mean." Frank looked at me. "He really does look like a younger you." The soldier glanced between us. Realization hit. "Meet the real husband," Frank said calmly. "Do you like married women?" I growled. "Back off," Frank warned me, low but firm, loud enough for the guy to hear. "Hey kid, did you notice the husband looks like your older brother?" Frank's cool cracked just a little. The pain he'd buried over Tracy was bubbling to the surface. "She told me she was divorced," the soldier stammered. "Not yet," I said darkly. "But soon." "Crap," he whispered and bolted. I tensed to chase him, but Frank stepped in front of me. "No, man, don't!" I almost shoved him aside. Then I saw the look in his eyes. "I lost Tracy to a cheater. I'm not losing you, too," he said softly. I stopped, breath heavy, my fists clenched. "You've already lost the marriage," Frank added. "Don't lose the rest by winning a fist fight." I exhaled hard. Shoulders dropped. "Can I at least hit him?" I muttered. Frank smirked. "Give it 6 months and an alibi." We laughed bitterly. Back at the grocery store, we got into my rental and waited. Yes, Maeve had kicked the soldier out. And yes, Frank was right. We disrupted her plans. But I still needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to know for sure. Frank was starting to get tired of my obsession. But as a seasoned survivor of betrayal and a loyal friend, he agreed to give me 1 more hour. We spent half of it at the bar, sipping beer, while the young soldier no doubt got down to business. Then we moved to my rental car to watch the lot. It paid off. A Nissan Sentra with out-of-state plates pulled in. A man stepped out, didn't go inside the store, and instead checked the street signs at the corner, standing under a lamppost just long enough for me to get a good look. He was a solid cousin match to me, appearance-wise. The guy had clearly traveled for this. Then I remembered the photos Maeve had posted on her now-deleted profile. He'd probably seen them and decided she was worth the trip. As he turned up 3rd Street, I sprinted down 2nd, then cut across to Maple behind our house, staying hidden in the shadows. Frank had planned to follow at a distance, just in case I lost control. I crouched behind a large tree near the corner. The man walked up our street, checked house numbers, and confidently stepped onto our front path. He rang the bell and stood there, expectantly. The door opened slightly. I couldn't see Maeve, but I heard her voice, couldn't make out the words. Whatever she said, it ended with her slamming the door within seconds. He stood still, confused. Then, clearly realizing how far he'd come, he knocked louder. This time, she opened the door just a crack, probably with the chain still on. "Sorry, it's canceled," she said coldly. "Please leave, or I'll call the police." The door shut. The lock clicked. "Hey, what the heck?" he yelled. "You crazy bit?" That's when the porch light next door came on, and a door creaked open. The guy turned and walked away quickly, disappearing down the sidewalk. Retired neighbors, nature's security system. I stayed hidden until the coast was clear, then rejoined Frank on Elm Street. We headed back toward Tompkins. As we neared the parking lot, we heard the screech of tires. Our soldier was peeling out fast. "Never a good idea to drive angry," Frank said. "Downright dangerous," I replied. Back at his place, we hooked up my laptop and checked the cloud backup from the second 6-hour camera batch. The last set had ended with an empty, freshly made bed, and this new archive began the same way. For a moment, we thought Maeve had taken a break, until we saw a series of 6 photos that suggested she was tidying up after something intimate. Maeve crossing the room with a towel, off camera. "Time to pull the living room camera," I said. "Monday morning, once she's at work," Frank replied. The final encounter with the soldier played out exactly as we'd seen through the bedroom window. His clothes dumped beside the bed, him sitting on the edge. The camera had captured it clearly. We stared at the images, grim and hollow. "She'll never suffer like we did," I said, "but at least this might sting a little." "You're a bitter man," Frank said. "Right," I smirked. He typed out Maeve's next fake message. "Just woke up. Feeling better. We'll keep you posted, Frank." Then shut off the phone without sending it. "You're a bitter man," I teased back. Guilty as charged. At midnight, we powered the phone back on. I hit send. Immediately, Maeve's texts and missed calls poured in. "Want to listen to the voicemails?" I asked. "Nah," I said. "Even I'm not that bitter." The next morning, after another restless night in Frank's guest room, I reviewed the footage. Maeve had no new visitors, just a lot of tossing and turning. She hadn't even changed the sheets again. That was a small win. I began organizing photos from her last 2 rendezvous to send to my lawyer. "Think I should send the window video too?" I asked. "Heck no," Frank snapped. "The bedroom cam is more than enough. Let's not mention sneaking into the house at all." "You think that soldier panicked when she kicked him out?" Frank chuckled. "Wouldn't be shocked." His grin faded. "Hopefully this taught him something. Next time, he might run into a husband who doesn't lock his tool away." "Way to kill the mood," I muttered. He shrugged. "Time to send Maeve her morning update. That'll cheer you up." I turned the phone back on and waded through more missed calls and texts from her. Then I typed, "Hey babe, it's Matt. Sorry Frank scared you. I'm fine. Just needed sleep, aspirin and ice. I really want to get a deer, so I'll stay through Monday. Love you." I hit send. Right as I went to power off the phone, it rang again. It was Kelly, my lawyer. "Hey, Kelly, didn't expect to hear from you on a Saturday." "Morning, Matt. I saw your latest upload in the portal. Anything as exciting as the last one?" I chuckled. "Not quite, just aftermath. One last guy, then nothing but restlessness." "She finally wore herself out?" Kelly said dryly, then sighed. "Sorry. That was harsh. I know this is a lot." "No, really, it's fine," I said. "A little dark humor is exactly what I need right now." I covered the mic and looked at Frank. "Should I tell her everything?" He nodded. "Kelly, you'll love this," I said, putting her on speaker. "Frank's got a story about how Maeve's Friday night ended in tears, not fireworks." "Morning, Kelly," Frank chimed in. "Morning, Frank. What did you two do? Please tell me I won't need to represent you on criminal charges." "You'll approve," he said, then recapped his staged phone call and follow-up text to Maeve. He conveniently skipped over our street encounter with the young soldier and my sneaky surveillance. "I like it," Kelly replied. "But are you sure she canceled the rest of her little weekend plans now that she thinks Matt's okay?" I checked my phone. She just replied, "Screw the deer, come home, I need you, I love you, please." "Told you," Frank grinned. "Told me what?" Kelly asked. "That she still loves him in her own twisted way." "Kelly," I asked, "have you ever had a client whose spouse just lost it, like mentally?" He paused. "I've handled cases involving unhealthy obsessions with intimacy, even compulsive online behavior. It's rare, but possible. I'm starting to think this might be one of those." "So what? If she gets diagnosed, I'm supposed to forgive her?" You don't have to, Kelly said gently. In fact, I don't think you could. Not after what you've seen. A mental health diagnosis might influence the legal process, but it won't erase the betrayal. Her actions were calculated. That was the final push I needed. How fast can we file? I can't go back to her. I understand. I'll prep the paperwork for our meeting Monday. We'll likely have to meet with her attorney too, but I'll be ready. What should I tell her when I don't come home Monday night? Don't say anything. Let me handle it. What should I do now? You've done everything right so far. Anything else could backfire. So breathe, lay low, and don't sabotage your case. Frank chuckled. I try to keep him from walking into emotional landmines, but it's a full-time job. Oh, and Kelly, I said suddenly, weren't you training for a 10K? Frank and I froze. Kelly's voice came back cool as ever. Yes, I think I mentioned that. Perfect, she said. Go run. She hung up. The phone rang again, Maeve. I turned it off, so I took Kelly's advice, threw on my old running shoes, and Frank joined me. We ran until he gave out at 3 miles. I still felt wired with anger and grief, so Frank suggested something more cathartic. We packed up our rifles and drove to a shooting range an hour out, our usual pre-hunt spot. But this time, I asked for human silhouette targets. The range manager didn't ask questions when I bought extra ammo. 5 targets later, his only comment was, "You've got tight groups, man." Frank, done early, chatted with the range mechanic. When we left, I asked what they'd talked about. He asked if I could keep you from shooting something other than paper, Frank said. I told him yes, and he proved it by locking my rifle in his tool safe as soon as we got home. The rest of the weekend was brutal. Frank kept me busy, Marvel movies, controlled drinking, and 0 replays of camera footage. He blocked Maeve's messages from me and answered on my behalf. I was feeling better, staying out to hunt longer. On Sunday, he texted her that I'd be in the woods most of the day. She's already calling you an a-hole for not coming home, he said, laughing. Wait till she sees the divorce papers, I muttered. A dark part of me enjoyed the petty revenge, but mostly I was devastated. I had loved her. Truly. I once believed she loved me the same, but now I wasn't sure if she was unraveling or if I was. Maybe I needed therapy just as much as she did. After another sleepless night, I woke up Monday morning knowing I was done. Any lingering hope of reconciliation was crushed by the memory of how eagerly she'd betrayed me. We texted Maeve from the grocery store parking lot, bad luck with the hunt, planning to stay out one more day. She replied almost instantly, "You left me alone all weekend and still won't come back early? Maybe you should go see Frank because I don't think I want to see you right away." I couldn't help but laugh. That was the plan all along. 15 minutes later, she drove off to work. I parked in the alley, jumped the fence, and entered through the back. This time, I didn't sneak. I was just careful not to attract the neighbors. I grabbed the hidden camera, my phone, and a suitcase from the second bedroom. That room was supposed to be a nursery one day. That dream was gone now. My chest ached. The betrayal had ruined more than a weekend. It destroyed our future. I packed some clothes, grabbed the gold coins, and took my laptop. I figured by the time she heard from Kelly, she'd know I'd been home. Back at Frank's, I plugged the camera's SD card into my laptop. We watched the full parade of her lovers, and finally identified the mystery 5th guy, the one with the elaborate tiger tattoo wrapped around his waist. Tiger Pop, her favorite in the chat. The one little girl couldn't get enough of. When the guy finally turned toward the camera, the tiger tattoo wrapped around his waist, and its tail ran all the way down to his shaved groin. The sight hit me harder than expected. I barely made it to Frank's bathroom before I threw up. While I was in there, Frank clipped footage of Tiger Pop and a few other lovers from the surveillance videos and sent them to Kelly, my attorney. After brushing my teeth, I collapsed fully clothed on the bed in the spare room, covering my eyes with my arm. Eventually, Frank called out that it was safe to watch the rest of the footage. I walked into the open living room where he was reheating sausage sandwiches and brewing coffee like nothing happened. "Watch the rest," he said. "It might actually help." My laptop was already open on the coffee table, and next to it was a shot of whiskey. 9 a.m. Monday, another sign I'd officially joined the divorced men's club. I took the shot, sat down, and pressed play. Frank was right. Compared to what I'd already seen, the rest was a relief. From Friday night onward, after the soldier was kicked out and others turned away, the footage showed Maeve pacing the house, glued to her phone, calling and texting me non-stop. She looked anxious, then tired, then angry. By Sunday, she was clearly unraveling, while I appeared to be off in the woods, unreachable, still chasing that elusive deer. What stood out was the living room. At first, I didn't notice anything. But then I realized some framed photos of me that had mysteriously disappeared before the weekend had now been returned to their usual spots. Her little divorced woman theater was over. Frank and I ate our sandwiches, sipping black coffee as we watched. Wow, I muttered. She really sold the lie. No wonder that guard guy thought she was single. Wait, Frank said. Rewind that. I scrolled back. Maeve was pacing again, typing furiously. Her hands, Frank pointed. No rings. We skipped forward to Saturday morning. By 10:30 a.m., the rings were back on. She had played the role to the hilt. I didn't send Kelly the new video clips, but I did put the relevant footage, mostly door footage of guests arriving, on a flash drive in case she needed it. Later that morning, I met Kelly at her office. She stood from behind her desk and greeted me with a firm handshake, then gave me a quick once-over. She was petite, polished, and direct. Dressed in a fitted suit, she studied me with confident eyes. 6 foot, 180. Distance runner, some added muscle, she said with a knowing smile. I'm guessing the rest of your profile checks out too. I gave a half smile but said nothing. Take a seat, Matt. Rough weekend? Calling it heavy is an understatement. Any new messages from Maeve? I handed her my phone. She read aloud. Forget what I said. I'm furious with you, idiot, but I need you home. Please, Matt, please. Kelly nodded. If that's genuine she didn't cheat to end your marriage, I'd bet she never thought it would come to this. Should I care? I can't just unsee what I've seen. No, you shouldn't pretend it didn't happen, she said. But if she begs for forgiveness and promises to stop, do you think you could ever forgive her? I opened my mouth to argue, but she held up a hand. I have to ask, Matt. A judge will expect it. And I know you still love her. I loved her, I said. Now I'm not so sure. You didn't sit through the Tiger show like I did. She nodded slowly. Yeah, that guy left a lasting impression on me too. I just want to move on. Can we file now? Yes, I'll prepare everything for our next steps. We'll likely have to talk to her lawyer too, but I'll be ready. What do I tell Maeve when I don't come home tonight? Nothing. I'll take it from here. And until then, you've done everything right. Don't take any more steps that could backfire. Frank, sitting nearby, chuckled. Trust me, Kelly, I've been doing damage control all weekend. Oh, and Kelly, I added, weren't you training for a 10K? Frank and I exchanged a glance. Kelly caught the cue. Yep, she said with a grin. So go run. She ended the call. The phone rang again. Maeve. I shut it off. Following Kelly's advice, Frank and I went for a run. I lasted longer than he did. 3 miles in, he tapped out. I still felt like a trapped animal. Later that day, we drove out to our usual shooting range. This time, I asked for human silhouette targets. I shot until I had to buy more ammo, shredding the silhouettes with tight, deliberate groupings. The rangemaster gave me a wary look, but just nodded and complimented my aim. Frank later told me the guy asked if I needed watching. He said no, but locked my tool in his safe as soon as we got home. Sunday dragged. Frank kept me busy. Movies, measured drinks, no more footage replays. He even handled messages from Maeve for me. She's calling you an a-hole now, he said with a smirk. Wait till she gets the divorce papers, I muttered. By Monday morning, I was mentally drained but committed. My love for Maeve had twisted into something unrecognizable. Any fantasy of rebuilding what we had was crushed under the weight of everything I'd seen. We sent one final message. Bad hunting luck? Heading out again? Sorry for scaring you Friday, but I'm fine. See you Monday night. Her reply came fast. You left me alone all weekend and you're still not coming back early? Maybe you should talk to Frank because I'm not sure I want to see you. I laughed. Irony had a sharp bite. 15 minutes later, we watched her car turn down Tompkins, headed to work. I parked in the alley, jumped the fence one last time, and entered through the back. No more sneaking. I gathered the camera, my new phone, and a suitcase. Packed up clothes, grabbed the gold coins and laptop, and stared down the room that was once meant to be a nursery. Back at Frank's, I reviewed the footage one last time. That final mystery man, the one we hadn't caught in the bedroom, the answer came as soon as he took off his shirt. The tiger tattoo curled around his waist. Tiger Pop, her favorite. The man from the chat thread Maeve signed as Little Girl. Maeve's voice crackled through the line, angry and confused. What the heck is going on? Who are you and why are you calling from Matt's phone? This is Kelly DeWitt, the woman replied calmly. I'm an attorney with Green Family Law in Springville, calling with Mr. Karas's full permission. This call is being recorded. Do you consent? Maeve hesitated, thrown off. Recorded? For what? Who are you? As I said, I'm Matt's lawyer. He's hired me to begin divorce proceedings. Divorce? Maeve sounded stunned. Yes, he's requested we move quickly but discreetly. He hopes to resolve this without going to court. A dirty incident? Maeve echoed, her voice unraveling. Yes. Rather than have you served, we're hoping you'll retain counsel and contact me soon. I don't have a pen. No problem. I'll text you my info. After that, this number will be deactivated. You won't be able to reach Matt through it. But I need to talk to him. This isn't right. We love each other. He has to hear me. Matt isn't ready to speak with you. All communication should go through your lawyer. Please have them reach out. Goodbye, Mrs. Karas. Kelly ended the call mid-sentence as Maeve tried to protest. She sent the contact info and shut the phone off. Well, she sighed. That went as well as it could. You okay? I asked, surprised by her sadness. I've seen a lot, Matt. I help people escape abusive marriages, but this is different. I don't think she meant to hurt you maliciously. Something's broken in her. She wrecked both of us, I said quietly. And I'm not even 30. Did I already live the last good day of my life? No, Kelly said firmly. This sucks, but it's not the end, just one brutal chapter. We'll connect you with a therapist. Don't make the mistake Frank did. He waited too long. Later that day, over wings and drinks during happy hour, Frank confirmed it. I thought therapy was BS, but really I just sat in my own mess, trying to act tough. You talked to me, I said. Sure, but it only hurt more seeing how perfect you two seemed. I didn't know your marriage was already cracking like mine had. I didn't respond. I just sipped my drink. Eventually, Frank said, with therapy, I saw you and Maeve as hope. Then it turned out to be another lie. Yeah, I said, and we toasted quietly. The next day, when I walked into Kelly's office, I half expected Maeve to be there waiting to beg for a second chance. My stomach twisted. She's not here, Kelly reassured with a small smile. Just us. Good, I muttered, sitting down. She wanted to explain things in person. If this were a drama, it'd be the big emotional scene. Well, I'm glad this isn't TV. It was Tuesday at 3 p.m. I wasn't at work. My manager had given me the week off after I came in to update my banking details. I'd spent the day hunting for apartments, no longer willing to stay in the house that now felt poisoned. If Maeve couldn't buy me out, I'd force a sale. I'd also done 2 runs, 5 miles in the morning and another 3 before this meeting, trying to wear down my nerves with fatigue and adrenaline. Kelly had called earlier saying she'd spoken to Maeve that morning. Apparently her explanation for everything was unusual. Too strange for a phone call, she said. So here I was, bracing for whatever twist might come next. Kelly gave me a look. Half smile, sharp eyes, one that suddenly reminded me how different she was from Maeve. Where Maeve was all softness and curves, Kelly had a lean, athletic edge. Mixed heritage, I guessed, maybe Hawaiian and white, with toned arms, sleek black hair, and a composed presence that didn't beg for attention, but demanded it anyway. You look surprised, she said. But it would have been even more intense hearing this from your wife. Stop stalling, I said. What did she say? She did it for you. That line hit me like a punch. I leaned forward, hands clenched on the table. You mean she's claiming I wanted this? Kelly quickly reached across, grabbing my wrist. No, God, Matt, I'm sorry. That's not what she meant. I slowly eased back, jaw tight. She's devastated you found out. She wasn't trying to hurt you. She's desperate because she still wants a child. That's what this was about. I blinked. Wait. Are you saying she did all this just to get pregnant? Kelly nodded and slid some paperwork across the table. A lab report. No names, just data. I recognized the doctor's name. 2 samples, both flagged as low. Is that me? Patient 25473? Yes, Kelly confirmed. But how did she get my sample? She took it, Kelly said gently. From the times you were trying, before she told you to start using protection again. I slumped in my seat, so Maeve had quietly tested me. And when she learned I had fertility issues instead of talking to me, she went looking for men who looked like me, as if closeness with strangers could solve everything. And your insurance doesn't cover IVF, Kelly added. She told her doctor that you were already financially drained from buying the house. I dropped my head to the table with a dull thud. She's insane. Then it hit me. Wait, If she was trying to get pregnant that way, and it worked, I wouldn't be legally responsible, right? Kelly hesitated. Your results show low fertility, not infertility. You'll need testing, just to be sure. But probably not. I let out a shaky breath. She panicked, Kelly continued. After you confronted her, she went to her doctor and asked for emergency contraception. There's a pill called Ella. It works up to 5 days after closeness. She barely made the window. It felt surreal. She'd gone to such disturbing lengths to conceive, only to wipe it all away the moment I refused to play along. Then another thought hit me like ice. We'd had love. Thursday morning, just before I left. She wanted me to believe the baby was mine, I muttered. She probably would have jumped into bed again Monday to seal the lie. And there's risk of STDs, Kelly added softly. We deal with that a lot in cases like this. From a legal perspective, it could affect your settlement. She was careful, though, I said darkly. Made sure to schedule, clean up, and hide it all, like a twisted science project. Kelly nodded. After reviewing your security footage, I noticed something. Every time a man arrived, Maeve met him at the door, quickly led him to the bedroom, and, well, it seemed deliberate. I cursed. She's been at this longer than I thought. She said it only started last month, Kelly told me. Swore it was just 3 men over 1 weekend while you were away. When that didn't work, and your latest trip lined up with her cycle, she went all in, brought in more donors to boost her chances. She swears she planned to stop after this one time, go back to fidelity, raise your child together. I shook my head, stunned. So this whole twisted betrayal was her warped version of family planning, and I never saw it coming. I rubbed my temples, trying to shake off the weight of betrayal. Was that footage about STDs? I asked. Kelly nodded. Did you notice how Maeve always glanced at her guests' phones when they arrived? Yeah, I figured she was checking if they were legit. She was checking their test results, Kelly said, her tone flat. She only invited men who could prove they were recently tested, and she told them she was on birth control. That revelation stunned me. That night, over beer and pizza, I asked Frank, do you keep your test results on your phone? He blinked. Actually, yes, and if I date again, I'll keep doing it. Frank was surprised Maeve had shared so much so early in the process. I explained she didn't even have a lawyer yet. She'd waited outside Kelly's office that morning, certain that once I heard her explanation, I'd drop the divorce altogether. She really believed her plan showed love, Kelly said. She thought you'd come home. Frank handed me another beer as we sat in his kitchen, where I'd been crashing ever since. I wasn't sure I could even stay in the same city, much less the same house. A week and a half later, I was back in Kelly's office. This time we sat across the table from Maeve and her attorney, a round, balding man named Randall Philpott. We have 2 concerns, he began. First, my client still wants to save this marriage. Maeve tensed beside him, looking ready to burst into tears or throw herself at me again. I'd already denied a hug when they arrived. Second, he continued, this proposed settlement is incomplete. It omits certain assets and offers inadequate alimony. Under the table, Kelly lightly tapped my foot. I gave her a slight nod. She'd warned me. Mr. Philpott, Kelly responded, please note that Mr. Karras has offered to pay 60% of your legal fees. That's not just fair. It's gracious, given the circumstances. Yes, I was willing to pay her lawyer. I didn't want revenge. I wanted closure. I believe Maeve had lost control, not plotted cruelty. I told Kelly to help her find a decent attorney, someone competent, even if not the best. But Maeve resisted even that, I added. She still doesn't believe we need lawyers. She thinks we're not divorcing. Kelly turned to Philpott. Your client may talk about standard of living, but what about my clients? Have you seen what he's been through? That wasn't drama. It was real. I was still struggling to sleep, going to therapy, trying to process it all. The irony, therapy was covered by insurance. Fertility treatment wasn't. Maeve sobbed. I'm so sorry, Matt. Philpott squeezed her hand and addressed Kelly with somber professionalism. While I understand, Mr. Karras's pain, state law doesn't factor fault in property division or alimony under a no-fault divorce. Kelly's voice hardened. Then let's be clear. If your client doesn't agree to the current no-fault terms, we will file on grounds of infidelity. She pushed a thick folder across the table. And that version of the settlement won't be so generous. Philpott's fingers twitched toward the file but didn't open it. He knew the weight it carried. And for the first time, I felt strangely relieved that I'd insisted Maeve have competent legal counsel, because this was going to get uglier before it got better, and at least now we were playing fair. If this goes public, Kelly said calmly, it won't just be humiliating for Mr. Karras. It'll be devastating for Mrs. Karras, especially if we subpoena every man involved and request paternity testing for the child she tried to conceive. Maeve let out a broken gasp. Let's not go there, Philpott snapped. That's excessive, Miss DeWitt. You know full well my client took steps to prevent conception, even though she was desperate for a child. Our child, I cut in sharply. Kelly pressed my hand and tapped my foot under the table. He would have been ours, Maeve cried. Yours and mine. The lawyers called for a break. Kelly led me back to her office. Philpott took Maeve outside for air. When we reconvened, Philpott spoke first. Mrs. Karras acted out of love. She believed conception might still have been possible with her husband. But once she knew he wanted a divorce, she took emergency action to make sure there was no child. Kelly's expression cooled. We understand the emotional weight of her decision, but medically it's still uncertain if it worked, and we have to be prepared for every possibility. Maeve looked pale, almost ghost-like. Kelly continued. The current agreement assumes Mr. Karras is not the father. He's willing to confirm that with a paternity test. But if we pursue a fault-based divorce, we'll demand tests from every potential biological father. We agreed not to say the quiet part out loud. If she keeps the baby, Maeve squeezed her lawyer's hand, clearly shaken. Philpott cleared his throat. Let's set that aside. Mrs. Karras hopes to avoid divorce entirely. She wants counseling, to rebuild their relationship, not destroy it. I nearly laughed through my pain. If she just told me about the problem, we could have handled it together. Instead, she turned our home into a clinic. Matt? Kelly tried to intervene, as did Maeve and Philpott. I slammed my fist on the table. I am in therapy. My therapist says the wound won't heal until I stop the bleeding. That means getting answers. Maeve, why didn't you just tell me the truth? Philpott opened his mouth, but Maeve cut him off. I didn't want to hurt you, she said quietly. I couldn't bear telling you that you might not be able to father a child. I stared at her. You thought I'd fall apart? That I'd stop being a man in your eyes? I didn't want you to feel broken, she whispered. You're so proud of your health, your strength. I didn't want to take that from you. I shook my head. God, am I really that shallow? No, she said. I'm just explaining badly. She took a shaky breath. We couldn't afford IVF, and I panicked. We wanted a baby now. I thought I found a way. So it was just a donation to you, I asked? Not an excuse to cheat? Exactly, she said quickly. I love closeness with you. I wasn't chasing new thrills. These men, they were all versions of you. I found guys who looked like you, acted like you. So even if I enjoyed it, I was imagining you. My stomach turned. She kept going. Like in those multiverse comics you love, it was always you, just younger or older versions. When I imagined the child, I pictured us, our child. And when I'd remember those moments, I'd only see you. Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. I turned to Kelly. She raised her eyebrows in silent question. I gave a faint nod. Kelly reached for the red-marked folder, our last resort. Without a word, she spread a series of photos in front of Maeve and her attorney. And because you did all this to protect my feelings, I said, keeping my voice steady, I'll never wonder, when we're intimate, whether your mind is somewhere else. Because it was only about finding a donor, right? The first photos were close-ups of Maeve's face, expressionless, detached. Then came others. Her complexion went ghostly white. I won't have to fear one day you'll ask me to role-play as a soldier or get a matching tattoo. I won't question if I was ever enough for you. When the next image landed, Maeve bolted to the trash can and threw up. Our house sold quickly. We'd owned it under 2 years, but the market had risen. Most of the profit went to legal fees. I moved into a place closer to work. Maeve returned to rural Idaho. Too ashamed to risk running into me, she rented a small apartment there and started therapy. She wasn't pregnant. Maeve found a job and made ends meet in the cheaper town. And though I'd been sending child support for 5 months, just in case, those payments would stop soon. She wasn't left destitute, and part of me was glad. Her betrayal still haunted me, but she had once been the love of my life. Her regret, though too late, was real. In her last letter, she still hoped we could reconcile. That won't happen. Still, Letting go of bitterness was a part of my healing. Frank and Kelly were right. Therapy helped me realize my life wasn't over at 30. The years ahead didn't have to be gray. Frank even tried to set me up on a dating site. It was flattering, but I declined. I wasn't ready to dive into that world, and maybe I never will. Frank can chase excitement without me. Ironically, karma came around for Frank. The man Tracy had cheated with, her boss, was fired after a harassment lawsuit, thanks to a brave employee who caught everything on video. Tracy lost her job soon after. She tried to win Frank back, then flipped and demanded more support. But Kelly handled it with one firm call. Frank shared evidence he'd gathered too late for his original divorce, but enough to shut down her threats. They sold their house and split the proceeds. It nearly covered the last of his payments, and finally, he was free. Soon, I will be too. Once I make my final payment, my legal ties to Maeve end, and Kelly won't be my attorney anymore. Green family law prohibits dating clients, but says nothing about former ones. I don't know if I'll ever ask her out. She knows too much about my worst days, but maybe I'll bring it up with my therapist. Who knows? Whether it's Kelly or someone else, I'm starting to believe I might still find love again, even in a world where it once went too far.